Greetings one and all, this is Illustrious Freedom again, and today we're back with another Gunpla review. This time we'll be looking at the Master Grade 1 to 100 scale GN005/GN004 Gundam Virtue / Nadleeh, one of the 4 titular Gundams from the anime series, Mobile Suit Gundam 00. So without further ado, let's get right into the review, shall we? The GN005/GN004 Gundam Virtue / Nadleeh is one of the 4 main Gundams of the Armed Intervention Group known as Celestial Being, an organization that solely exists for the purpose of eradicating global conflict. Celestial Being consists of many members, but in the case of the main anime series, the group consists of 4 prime mobile suit pilots known as Gundam Meisters. They are Setsuna F. Seiei, Locon Stratos, Alia Haptism, and Tieria Arde, pilot of the mobile suit we're focusing on today. In addition to being a human, Tieria is also an Innovade, a genetically engineered bioterminal created by Celestial Being and Veda. Innovades are also considered as the artificial versions of genuine innovators, natural humans that have evolved to utilize quantum brainwaves, sole purpose of leading humanity for future expected communications with other intelligent lifeforms. The Gundam Nadleeh, the Gundam hidden in Virtue, features the trial system, which allows its Meister to take control of machines within a certain target range that are linked to Veda. Its primary purpose is to counter potential betrayals by the Gundams as well as protect them from being misused. However, in order for the Nadleeh to be fully revealed and fully purged from its Virtue armor, in the case of Tieria Arde, the pilot is required to utilize his or her quantum brainwaves. Like the other Gundams piloted by Celestial Being's other Meisters during the series' first season, the Nadleeh features a semi-perpetual GN drive in the center of its body which provides almost limitless energy and produces special, multifunctional GN particles. The reason for Nadleeh's secretive nature is to prevent the aforementioned trial system from being discovered and used by the enemy against Celestial Being. The Nadleeh features a pair of GN beam sabers, 2 GN cannons, a beam rifle, and shield. In addition to the trial system as well, and like the other Gundams in the series, the Nadleeh also comes equipped with the venerable Trans-Am system, which allows it to fluidly move at incredibly fast speeds for a limited time. Once the Nadleeh puts on the Virtue armor, however, it becomes a completely different machine entirely, having the highest offense and defense powers amongst the 4 main Gundams in the series. When it loses out in extreme mobility, it more than makes up for it with sheer firepower and armor. In terms of firepower, its main armament, the GN Bazooka, has a burst mode which splits the barrel in half and extends the inner yellow barrel parts. As a result, it unleashes firepower that can very well be as destructive as that of a battleship, and even greater when in Trans-Am mode. However, due to the increased firepower, it also takes a massive toll in GN particle consumption, and in the case of the additional firepower dished out during Trans-Am, can end the said mode immediately after only 1 shot. In addition, the Virtue carries the same equipment as the Nadleeh, excluding the GN beam rifle and shield. The GN cannons are also mounted to the sides of the backpack instead of being handheld. As far as defensive measures go, the Virtue comes equipped with a GN field which can be deployed to provide full 360-degree protection against most physical and beam attacks.
君たちはガンダムマイスターにふさわしくない。そうとも万死に値する。
I'll have to be completely honest with you guys right now. Gundam 00 is my favorite Gundam show of all time. So when this kit got announced, of course I had to have it. And now obviously I'm really glad I have. The all-new GN frame-based Master Grades have been incredibly impressive in their own rights, and in my opinion, this one is absolutely no exception. Providing an incredibly fun and satisfying build, as well as a spectacular end result that combines impeccable build stability with gorgeous yet faithfully adapted aesthetics and surprisingly fun playability and incredible articulation. I'm honestly still surprised at how fun this guy is to play around with, even in Virtue mode, where movement is much more limited. What's even more surprising for me is how easily I can pull off the GN Bazooka burst mode pose. I've been incredibly traumatized with most past attempts of trying to hold a singular weapon with 2 hands, especially when it comes to Master Grades. And with that in mind, I expected it to be a massive struggle, but to my surprise, it wasn't. Not even in the slightest. Perhaps it's to do with the GN Bazooka's size, but even I remember having to struggle a lot when it comes to holding massive weapons with Gunpla with only 2 hands that didn't involve a part or more falling off. Truly incredible feat this. Removing the Virtue armor to unveil Nadleeh as well as putting on the Virtue armor, they were also much easier processes than what I had anticipated originally. Yes, there's a lot of parts in play here and there, and the process does feel tedious at times, but it's also worth it if you ask me. Removing the parts weren't a struggle at all in my opinion, and attaching and detaching was much easier than I thought, yet everything feels so satisfying. Even when the armor bits were still attached together, they were solid for the most part. I did find removing the larger V-fin part to be a bit of a struggle, but that's really about it. And once the armor bits are removed, you're presented with the more graceful and fluid presentation of the Nadleeh. Before we get to how much I love this form, a little bit of a warning. The back bits of the Gundam's quote-unquote hair can easily pop off. A lot. The hair pieces limit head movement in general, actually. I do wish they were made of much softer materials to allow for more movement, but the articulation is still great regardless, in spite of that. If you've owned the Master Grade Dynames and Curios, the two other Master Grades that utilize the current GN frames, you're already well aware of how amazing the articulation in these frames are. Aside from the hair strands that do get in the way as I mentioned earlier, this will pull off whatever pose you could think of, at least when it's in Nadleeh mode. Oh, and in case anyone's wondering, here are the amount of Virtue armor bits that are purged off once it becomes Nadleeh. I know, there's a lot to take in indeed. The Master Grade Gundam Virtue and Nadleeh is yet another home run for Bandai with their new GN frame Master Grades. With a combination of screen-accurate looks, all the armaments you need, ease of armor assembly and disassembly, as well as killer articulation even in Virtue mode, it's really that good, and I absolutely love it. Sure, the hair strands getting in the way in the Nadleeh mode can be a turnoff for some, but if you ask me, the good most certainly outweighs the bad. The thing is with the hair though, I do kind of feel like it's a way of Bandai incentivizing you to buy two of them, just so you can have one displayed in Nadleeh mode in which you can glue the hair strands to keep them on, and the other one can be meant for the Virtue mode, which you can just keep the armor bits on. Which does lead me to another issue that I kind of do have with the kit. Because this isn't cheap, even though I firmly believe you're most certainly getting your money's worth. But with that being said, if you love 00 and or have the Master Grade Dynames and Curios and are thoroughly impressed with those Master Grades, then I cannot recommend this kit enough because this is an absolute must-have. I also hope we get another version of the Master Grade Exia with this frame too, as it'll absolutely do that iconic main Gundam some much-needed justice. And speaking of the Master Grade Dynames as well as Curios, here's a size comparison between the Nadleeh and Virtue with its aforementioned brethren to end things off. Thanks for watching, everyone. What do you guys think of the Master Grade Virtue and Nadleeh? Do you have the kit yourselves? If so, I'd love to know your experiences with it, as well as possibly even the two other GN frame Master Grades down in the comment section below. And while you're at it, if you enjoyed the video, a like is most certainly appreciated, and please feel free to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more reviews, as well as turning a notification on so you don't miss an upload. Thank you once again, and I'll see you guys next time.